We are here today with Rick Kalm, who is the Executive Director of the Michigan Gaming Control Board. And first of all, Rick, thanks very much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Michigan's kind of an exciting place to be right now from a gaming perspective. Your folks are about to launch online sports betting and online casino. Tell us about that.
Well, it's been several years coming. There's quite a bit of talk about it. There was some legislation introduced in the previous legislative session that was vetoed at the last minute by the previous governor. So everybody went back to the table. The legislators did, and then they also included the tribal casinos. As you know, we have 12 federally recognized tribes in Michigan, and they were brought into the fold. And there was quite a bit of negotiations that went on, and I think the bottom line was everybody came to an agreement, something that could be workable for the state of Michigan and to include all the players involved in Michigan. And so, yeah, it is an exciting time. It's like drinking from a fire hose. We've been frantically working on rules, which we promulgated and have them in place. And there's been a huge influx of business and a lot of buzz, multiple companies that are coming into this market to try and share in this gaming.
There's a lot of enthusiasm among investors over Michigan. They look at New Jersey and they see New Jersey right now heading towards over $1 billion a year in online gaming and $600 or $700 million a year, maybe more, as it matures in sports betting revenue generated for the operators. What kind of expectations did your legislators have for the size of this market when they enacted this expansion?
Well, I don't think they're quite that optimistic. They were trying to be more realistic, I think. I think the sports betting was always bantered about, and we thought that might pass without online gaming. But when they came to the realization of how much more profitable the online gaming market is, would be in Michigan when looking at New Jersey, it was passed together. So we have, I don't do projections, but we have really reasonable expectations. We have a very successful online lottery. Our lottery does over $1 billion a year in revenue, and a significant portion of that is online. So that was already out in front, so that we could see what the appetite was for the online, that type of online gaming. And it also slowed everybody down to take a longer look at it because nobody wanted to interfere with our online lottery. So there were certain things that were done to hopefully ensure that there wasn't direct competition with lottery. And then they pushed forward. So we're very cautiously optimistic. We don't know if we're going to hit those kind of revenue numbers, but we certainly know there's going to be a substantial amount of revenue generated, especially with the online gaming side.
Michigan was a pioneer in online lottery, and you're probably the most successful state at it right now. So if you do as well in these other new areas, you're going to do very well for the citizens of Michigan. We're entering a new year. What are two or three of the top issues that you see facing regulators in this coming year in Michigan and or throughout the country?
Well, we've had a huge influx of new players in the casino realm. In other words, multiple platform providers and then subsequent companies that assist with the software, and a lot of international companies. So we've been wrestling with licensing international companies when we really don't have the ability with this COVID pandemic to travel and to go on and do on-site inspections and things of that nature where these companies operate or where they're based. So we've been working through that, and it hasn't been that easy. We're a regulation agency, much like New Jersey and Nevada. We will go on site and do our background investigations. We will license people and look into their records and so on and so forth. So doing that from afar in a virtual environment has been quite a learning curve for our investigators. And then in addition to that, our board, because we bring them the fruits of those investigations and they have to make a determination with different criteria. So someday we'll get back to the way we did it before, but probably never exactly like we did it before, because we've learned a lot in this virtual environment, how to streamline certain things, but you still can't replace, in certain cases, a site visit and a one-on-one communication with individuals when you're doing a deep dive in some of these licensing investigations.
One of the trends that's emerging in the gaming industry is cashless gaming, probably accelerated a little bit by the pandemic. Where does cashless gaming stand in Michigan?
Well, right now, and I've seen what the AGA put out on cashless gaming. It makes a lot of sense. Apple Pay, all the other different formats that you can pay, and we're not opposed to it. We're sort of, we're trying to walk before we run in this whole thing. So our rules are open enough to allow for some of that, but we're really waiting on the vendors, suppliers, platform, and operators to make a specific request on if they want to engage in cashless gaming. Right now, we're doing it the old-fashioned way to start, where people have to set up an account. They can do that remotely. And then we're working through those issues where they're going to have to fund those accounts with traditional means. However, we're open to that, and we're just sort of waiting on the industry itself to make a specific request, and we'll go forward with regarding that.
A few years ago, it was generally held that cashless gaming was too much of a risk for problem gamblers. Because it made access to their money too easy. In more recent years, the argument has begun to hold sway that with cashless gaming and current technology, you have the ability to exclude, you have the ability to self-exclude, you have the ability to set loss limits, and that you always have a permanent record of every transaction. Do you continue to see regulatory issues, public policy issues as they affect cashless gaming, or do you think those issues are resolved and it's time now to implement?
I think a lot of that's resolved because with Know Your Customer, geolocation, all the identity things that are in place right now just to participate in the gaming. And then on the problem gaming side, as you know, we can limit time, we can limit cash amounts. There's a whole bunch of things that we can do online to assist with problem gamblers. And so I don't think it's nearly the issue that it was previously. So we are open to it. We're hoping that somebody does pursue it, and we'll be able to look at that further and deal with that in the future. This whole business of online gaming is certainly going to change the whole landscape in Michigan. And then when you're involving federally recognized tribes in this process, the entire state's going to be covered by multiple operators. So there's going to be an immense amount of competition. That's probably the biggest issue. You're asking me about public policy issues. That we want to make sure that the gaming has the same level of integrity that it did when we were regulating the commercial casinos, and that we have to be very careful because I really do believe the amount of competition is going to provide for a lot of marketing, a lot of free play, and we have to have some restrictions on that free play going forward. Some of these tribes are from the northern Upper Peninsula, so their footprint is very small on their existing tribal platform. They're entering into a whole new area where they're going to have access to the entire state and the entire 10 million people of Michigan. So we're being watchful and careful, but until we actually pull the trigger and get it going, we just don't know. We don't know what we don't know.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things about online gaming is it becomes kind of a democratizing process. And you could see that in New Jersey, where the smallest casino in Atlantic City, the Golden Nugget, oftentimes is the biggest casino in Atlantic City online, because now in the bricks and mortar world, they have the fewest number of hotel rooms and gaming positions, but in the online world, they have the same access to those 9 million residents.
Exactly.
You mentioned the issues involving a problem gambling from a online perspective. Are there any initiatives that you're taking, or are you studying how this will play out before you make recommendations on new regulations involving responsible gaming?
We're very much studying it. We have a pretty robust responsible gaming, effort in place at our 3 commercial casinos. We have a disassociated persons list, which up until recently was a lifetime ban to go back into the casinos. Now we recently allowed them after 5 years to remove their name. We were really concerned that a lifetime ban was keeping people from signing up to get some initial help. And we did quite a bit of collaboration with the Michigan Problem Gambling group here in Michigan, and they were very much for that. We are asking the platform providers and operators to submit to us how they are going to deal with online gaming. We know we have studied how our lottery does it, where we limit people to a certain amount of transactions, or we monitor multiple transactions in a short period of time, and then also time online. And so we are still determining how that's going to all play out, but we're also reviewing plans from the 15 operators on how they're going to deal with online gaming and how they're going to merge problem gaming and how they're going to merge the people that are prohibited from have put themselves on these lists with getting accounts and doing online gaming. That's probably the biggest issue for us once we get implemented, is to really monitor the problem gambling side of this. Our concern is going to be that we just, because of the ease of access and the ability for people to game on their phone, how that's going to impact as a whole our problem gambling issues in the state.
Okay, you've been very generous with your time today, Rick, and again, thank you. Are there any other issues involving public policy in gaming that you would like to discuss?
At this time, remember I told you we don't know what we don't know. So we have been just buried in trying to get our operators and platform providers licensed, to get them in a position to go live. That's really been our focus. We have to bring one tribe and one commercial on at the same time. In other words, I can't have all the tribes come on without a commercial. I can't do one commercial without at least one tribe. So we're really working closely to see who's going to be ready, and we're days away from doing that. So from a public policy perspective, we haven't had a chance to really sit back and take a long look. We're really trying to get the sports betting live for some of our operators, and then we're going to try and take a look at how this all plays out. In Michigan, we're unique. The city of Detroit is actually going to get a significant increase in revenue from the Detroit casino operators on their online side. There's an additional 2.4% tax for those operators to try and help the city of Detroit. From a public policy perspective, this is really all about revenue for the state and for the city. The city of Detroit needs the revenue, so does the state, especially when we were shut down for such a significant amount of time, along with the tribes to operate the land-based casinos. So revenue is going to be king, but we also have to make sure that we regulate this and keep it at a high level of integrity. So we're going crazy over here trying to get it done. And if you check back with me once we start the rollout, I might be able to give you a little bit better perspective on public policy in Michigan. But initially, it's going to be it's revenue generated, gaming with integrity, and to be cognizant of problem gamblers.
That's a very good overview, Rick, and we'll take you up on that offer. What's your timeline now for launch?
Our timeline's been extended just a little bit because some of our operators weren't in a position to have all of their software and their gaming platforms looked at by independent test labs. So the test labs have been inundated with a bunch of our platform providers trying to get that done. We got out ahead of the licensing, and we've issued preliminary licenses to all of the platform providers in the state so far. So that part's ready to go. We're about a third of our way through employee licenses, and we're focusing on those employees that are going to be operating on the platforms that are most ready to go first. So from a date perspective, we're looking at the 15th of January, giving the okay to at least 2 tribal and 1 commercial platform provider for sports betting. That's what it looks like now. We're in constant contact with those platforms, and we're waiting our verification letters from the independent test labs that their software is ready to go. And it meets our standards, our Michigan standards. The initial delay was the rules. We had to get our rules through the promulgation process. That was done October 6th. And then it wasn't until December 3rd or 4th when those rules were waived by the legislature, which allowed the platforms to submit their software to the labs. That was the hinging factor. So that part was the delay. We just hope we're not standing anyway. And right now we're not. We're really waiting on vendor suppliers and the platforms to get those verifications in from the independent test labs to get a go live date.
Okay, again, very good overview, Rick. We appreciate your time and your insights.
Oh, no problem. Anytime.